Huge blockbuster trades in Major League Baseball that were on the verge of happening but did not. Let's get right into it. Back in 2010, Zack Greinke was a solid pitcher for the Kansas City Royals. Although 2010 wasn't necessarily his best year with an ERA over 4, he did throw 220 innings. It was coming off of a 2009 season where he won the AL Cy Young Award with a 2.16 ERA. The Royals, on the other hand, were not very good and felt they had to start building toward the future. And trading a guy like Zack Greinke would help out greatly for them, so they did just that. Greinke ended up being traded to the Milwaukee Brewers, but not before he was almost traded to the Washington Nationals. The Royals offered him to the Nats for guys like Drew Storen, Danny Espinosa, and Jordan Zimmermann, but it was Greinke himself who said no to the trade, not wanting to go to Washington, D.C., and so he stayed on the Royals until being traded to the Brewers for Lorenzo Cain and Alcides Escobar. Cain and Escobar, of course, ended up playing huge parts in the Royals' eventual 2015 World Series championship. If Greinke for some reason wanted to go to DC, that means no Lorenzo Cain and Alcides Escobar for the Royals, and a good chance the Royals don't win the pennant in 2014 and win it all in 2015. So, Royals fans, you have a lot to thank Zack Greinke for. Next up, we have when Ken Griffey Jr. was almost traded to the Mets. In 1999, the Mets really wanted Jr. and had an agreement in place with Seattle to trade for him. The Mets were about to pair up Mike Piazza with Ken Griffey Jr. It was about to happen until Griffey Jr. himself declined the deal just 15 minutes before he had to make a decision. In 2005, Marlins starting pitcher Dontrelle Willis won 22 games with a 2.63 ERA and over 236 innings thrown. He was electric, and other teams took notice, including the Detroit Tigers. In fact, the Tigers were so interested in acquiring Willis that they made a pretty decent offer for him. Who was in that offer? None other than 24-year-old Curtis Granderson and 22-year-old Justin Verlander. The Marlins could have had those guys and were on the verge of doing so until they decided they'd rather keep Willis, counting on him to be their star. Willis went on to go downhill after that, regressing in 2006 and still having a good season, but wasn't ever good afterward. As for Curtis Granderson and Justin Verlander, we all know how that turned out. Mariano Rivera is the greatest reliever of all time. Played every single one of his major league seasons with the Yankees in his career, but that seriously could have been changed in 1996, his second year in the big leagues. In 1996, Rivera had yet to show what he could eventually become, and as he dealt with injuries, George Steinbrenner decided he should trade him, working out a deal with the Seattle Mariners. Of course, it never ended up happening, as others in the Yankee organization talked George out of it, but what could have been. Back in 1947, the entire course of baseball history and the Red Sox-Yankees rivalry could have been changed. Yankees owner Dan Topping and Red Sox owner Tom Yawkey were at a bar for a meeting when they agreed on a trade that would send Joe DiMaggio to the Red Sox in exchange for Ted Williams. That would have broken the baseball world at the time, and it was of course on the verge of being a reality until the next morning. Yawkey had also reportedly asked for Yogi Berra as well, but whatever the case was, overnight, both owners slept on it and realized how angry it would make their respective fan bases, calling the deal off. Who knows what could have taken place if this happened? Perhaps the Red Sox break their curse way earlier than they ended up doing so, and who knows what Ted Williams would have done in New York to help out the Yankees. It's a fascinating alternate reality to think about. You then have a much more recent one, a trade that almost happened back in 2018. In 2018, Astros general manager Jeff Luhnow, who was fired after the cheating scandal was exposed, revealed that the Astros had a deal in place to trade for Bryce Harper from the Washington Nationals. The exact deal would have been Bryce Harper going to the Astros for a few months before he became a free agent, and in return, the Nationals would receive 5 prospects who still have yet to make any sort of legitimate impact in the majors. So it would have been a fleece by the hands of Houston. The Nationals ownership were the ones to stop the deal from happening, as Harper ended up staying on the Nats through the end of the season, becoming a free agent and signing with the Philadelphia Phillies, where he will be playing a World Series against the Houston Astros. Funny how that works. Let me know which scenario was the craziest. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.